Imagine this. A leader stands exposed. His crimes are undeniable. He has embezzled billions, trampled justice, and silenced opposition. Yet his supporters cheer louder. His rallies grow. He becomes not a criminal in the eyes of the masses, but a messiah. Why? Friedrich Nietzsche saw this coming long before modern politics. To him, the masses' adoration of corrupt leaders wasn't an error in judgment. It was a psychological necessity, a dark survival mechanism, an unconscious yearning for strength even at the cost of morality. Today, we uncover Nietzsche's chilling theory of why people not only tolerate corruption in leadership, they worship it. The puzzle: cheering for criminals. Corrupt leaders have thrived in nearly every system of governance. Despite mountains of evidence and scandal, they often enjoy unwavering loyalty. Think of Malaysia's Najib Razak, involved in the $4.5 billion 1MDB scandal. Still, many saw him as a symbol of strength. Or Mussolini, whose totalitarian rule was met with mass celebration. Why do people embrace what they should logically reject? This isn't about ignorance, it's about human psychology, and Nietzsche understood it deeply. Nietzsche's core idea, the will to power. Nietzsche believed that the fundamental drive in human beings isn't survival, but the will to power, the innate force to assert, expand, and dominate. This drive doesn't always manifest violently. It shows up in ambition, confidence, creativity, and leadership, but it also craves order and certainty, especially in times of chaos. Corrupt leaders often promise this order, wrapped in bold declarations and ruthless action. They don't apologize, they don't explain, they act, often outside the rules, and that behavior triggers something primal in the public: admiration. Master morality versus slave morality. According to Nietzsche, there are two types of morality. Master morality values power, pride, ambition. Good is whatever enhances strength. Slave morality values humility, empathy, equality. Good is what relieves suffering. Democratic societies preach slave morality. But in crisis, people lean toward master morality. They begin to equate strength with goodness, even if it's ruthless. Corrupt leaders appear authentic because they don't pretend to be virtuous. Their brutality is ironically seen as honesty. Mussolini famously said, "Better to live one day as a lion than 100 years as a sheep." It wasn't just propaganda, it was psychology. Psychological grounding. The need for certainty. In times of fear, people seek clarity. Studies show that when individuals feel powerless or overwhelmed, they become 40% more likely to support authoritarian figures. Why? Because decisive leadership, even when immoral, gives them a sense of control. A corrupt leader may lie, but he lies confidently. That confidence is mistaken for truth. It's a trade-off: moral clarity for emotional security. Ressentiment. Worship rooted in resentment. Nietzsche introduced the concept of ressentiment, a deep, suppressed envy that the powerless feel toward the powerful. Rather than confronting this envy, people invert morality to make weakness a virtue and condemn strength as evil. But here's the twist. When a corrupt leader displays unapologetic strength, people can live vicariously through them. They see in that leader what they wish they could be: fearless, dominant, unbothered by judgment. This is why scandals often increase a corrupt leader's popularity. Their crimes confirm their untouchable status. The herd instinct. Nietzsche distrusted the masses. He called them the herd because of their tendency to follow, conform, and seek safety in numbers. Corrupt leaders understand the herd instinct. They speak in absolutes. They simplify complex problems. They offer a strong in-group identity against a common enemy. And when enough people begin to cheer, the rest follow. Not because they believe, but because they fear being left out. Corruption as spectacle. In modern media ecosystems, corruption becomes entertainment. Scandals are televised, lies are memed. Everything becomes a performance. Nietzsche predicted the rise of actors in politics. People who perform power, not necessarily those who hold it responsibly. And the audience? They're not watching for truth. They're watching for dominance, for drama, for strength. Historical echoes, from Napoleon to now. Napoleon was adored not for peace, but for conquest. Despite wars, he became a myth. Hitler gained support not despite his extremism, but because of it. In America, political figures plagued by scandal often raise the most funds. In parts of Africa, former warlords have been elected. Nietzsche's theory is consistent across time. When people are afraid, they don't want morality, they want command. Democratic camouflage, corruption with a smile. The most dangerous corruption isn't loud, it's dressed in suits, masked by bureaucratic language, legitimized by institutions. Nietzsche argued that modern democracies enable this by giving people the illusion of control, while true power becomes more hidden. This is the corruption that people refuse to see, because it wears the mask of respectability. Eternal recurrence. The cycle repeats. Nietzsche's concept of eternal recurrence suggests that history doesn't just repeat, we choose to repeat it. When we forget these patterns, we re-elect them. We romanticize them. We make documentaries about them years later, wondering, how did we not see it? But deep down, we did. Nietzsche's antidote, the Übermensch. Nietzsche didn't leave us hopeless. His answer? The Übermensch, the overman, the one who creates his own values, independent of herd morality. To resist the worship of corrupt power, we must question not just leaders, but our desire for them. Examine whether our loyalty is rooted in truth or emotional hunger. Learn to lead ourselves without needing to outsource our will. Becoming the Übermensch isn't about dominance. It's about self-mastery. And that's far harder than worshiping someone else. The mirror of power. Next time you hear a leader promise strength without accountability, ask yourself, do I admire this person or do I envy them? Because the worship of corrupt leaders says more about us than about them. If this video challenged your perspective, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who believes power and virtue must always go together. In our next video, we'll dive deeper into how Nietzsche's critique of democracy applies to social media influencers and digital politics. Until then, think freely, question deeply, and never trade your mind for comfort.